welcome back to the channel. Doing another series of reactions of bad voiceover, some files and some video clips and links that people have sent me. And don't know what to expect, but yeah, just gonna go right into it. Links to the others will be down in the description if you want to see the other series, any of the videos in the other series. But yeah, let's just get right into it.
Huh?
Let's go.
Hey!
It's okay, May.
Not a lot of voiceover in this.
Who's he? Your boyfriend? May? I love you.
Huh?
I don't know what's wrong with this. I don't know why this was sent to me. I think one of the reasons someone sent it, because I did a 1-minute fan dub of one scene from Say I Love You as well. Maybe that's why someone sent this to me. But I don't see anything wrong with this. This is actually really good. I would actually say that his vocal performance, whoever this is definitely better than mine. I did not fit the character. Again, the 1-minute fan dubs or the short fan dub series has been really just kind of me challenging myself to do roles and scenes and kind of personalities I don't normally do. But this, so far, there's nothing wrong with this. I actually think it's really, really good. Of course, there's not too much voiceover in it. So far, it really seems mostly heavy with the music and the sound effects rather than the actual... It's not a dialogue-heavy scene. Very alpha. This is going to be a hard one. I don't know how much of this I'm actually going to be able to... Oh.
What's going to happen to me now?
I would say that the music is too loud, though. There's one thing that I see a lot of people do, and... something that they need to do a lot more in just production in general, especially if it's fan-made or independent production, is it's sometimes called cross-chain compression. Basically, the idea is that when someone is talking, the sound effects and the music go down a few pegs. And then when the character's not talking, it goes back up to whatever it normally was. So that the person's dialogue cuts through all that a little bit better, and I think that's the one thing I'd say. But there's no bad voiceover in this. I don't know why anyone sent this to me. This is shame on you. This is good. Ugly game audio in Tenshu. Wait, what? What do you say?
What is this, Bizenya? There is more here than usual.
We could not do business without you. The money is merely a token of our appreciation.
I like the way you think. What can I help you with?
Okay, first thing I'm hearing is that, my God, the pacing is terrible. But that has nothing to do with voiceover. That's more of them just trying to match a time frame that was given to them by what was rendered. Normally, nowadays, voiceover is before the render. But back then, the render for the game or cutscene was often done before the voiceover, sometimes. And it puts the voice actors in a very awkward space. These are definitely not professional voice actors. These are people just in the studio, which again was very, very common, especially around the time of PlayStation 1. It's also not natively English. They're not doing a bad job. I can understand what they're saying, but they're not delivering the lines with confidence. If it was in their own native language, they probably would have done a whole lot better because they would have been more comfortable and more confidence with what they were saying, but here it's not that well.
We have put in bids for the construction work.
Like, that's a great example. Instead of we've put in bids, it sounded like you said we've putting bids. I'll go back.
We have put in bids for the construction work.
We have putting bids for construction work. Also, what accent is that supposed to be? I think it would have been better if it was just like they just did their own language and then you just had the subtitles. You know, because this is really slogging. This is real slog.
Next month, if you could only...
Leave it.
There's another prime example right there. So when you have a character do that, it's ... Characters say something and ... before they actually get to the point of ... which is a name for that. I don't care. The other line is supposed to come in and cut them off. And when you're a voice actor and you're delivering that kind of line, one thing that I do, and sometimes I tell other people to do, when it gets to, you get a line where you're supposed to be getting interrupted, whether it's by a sound or another character, don't leave it off at that last word as if it's the last word. Leave it off as if there's more to come. Sometimes I'll actually give a client whatever the next word or next few words would be, and they can literally just cut it whenever. It makes it sound better. It makes it flow better. Let's see. What was the line again?
If you could only...
So, if you could only... So he's doing it like, if you could only... And then there's like a... If you could only... That's not how the line is supposed to be. So if you could only... That's a little bit more how it would be. It's going quicker into it with the idea that there's going to be another line and it's getting cut off. So if you could only have... so sorry. So that would be an example of giving extra at the end, and that is intended to be talked over or cut out, which makes it sound more natural. So they're clearly not doing that here. They're just reading it as is, and these are just people in the office.
Leave it to me. But
Leave it to me. What is that about? What are you doing? You could do a laugh at the beginning, you could do a laugh at the end, but don't laugh on the word, especially when the rest of it isn't laughing. So you got the majority of it not laughing, and then you have that's laughing. There you go. Leave it to me. That would be a little bit more, where you start out with a laugh, which the laugh itself would actually be the thing that's interrupting the other guy. So he's like, if you could only leave it to me. That would be a little bit more like what it should have been. Again, I'm not looking at the script. I don't know what is supposed to be going on here. I don't know the context. But overall, it's slogging. They're not professional voice actors. It's not native. The pacing is pure garbage. No one was directing them. These are not professionals.
Oh no! It's melting! My precious power ring gone forever!
Oh, please give me that again.
Oh no! It's melting! My precious power ring gone forever!
Oh my God! How do I remember that in the show? Everything about it is wrong, and it's not even like an amateur. I mean, oh no, my precious power ring, it's gone forever. What the fuck was that? Oh, I'm lightheaded now. Give me a second. I mean, it really does speak for itself. The emotion was wrong, dead wrong, 100% dead wrong. I mean, it should be more of a tragedy. It should be more like if she's supposed to be emotionally invested in the ring. First of all, it's not even animated the way I assume they intended it with the dialogue. Because she's just kind of like holding it there, watching it, and then just kind of does this, and that's it. So it's a matter of pacing. It's a matter of speed. Something that's way more emotional should be delivered a whole lot faster. Because this is a dire situation. This is immediate. This is something that you want to tackle and deal with right now. It's said more like she's doing a play, like a Shakespearean play, screaming across, everyone and, saying it more theatrically, which maybe that was the actor's background. They had done more theater, and this was their first voiceover role. I don't know the backstory to that one, but that was really, really, the quality of it was okay as far as like the recording quality. The dialogue is fine. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry. The animation, I feel like should have been a whole lot faster, and the dialogue should have been a whole lot faster. And it also had, surprisingly, one of the biggest issues I have with a lot of people's like kind of amateur performances is the fact that it was very quiet. It needs to be, loud. It needs to be, if a character is yelling, have them yell instead of this withheld, like it's restrained. It doesn't need to be restrained. This is a moment when you should be at the cusp of your emotion. You should be at the edge, the precipice of your emotion, especially if you're going to be screaming and this is a tragedy to you. I didn't get any of that from that. That was hilariously bad.
Get back here, Shocker!
All right, I got to be ready for this one.
Get back here, Shocker! Shocker! You can't escape me! I'll chase you to the ends of the earth!
I'm going to go over the things I like about it first. First, I do actually like that the voice actor was giving literally his all. It was all wrong as far as like the voice and trying to go for an intimidation thing. So I love everyone, every voice actor and every actor and the writing and the directing of the original Spider-Man animated show from the 90s. I believe it's from the 90s, maybe early 2000s? I think it's from the late 90s. I love the show. It actually got me into, it was one of the things that got me into voiceover and people's performances and storytelling and the idea that a show for kids can actually be a bit more adult. It's not incredibly adult, but it's something that, there are topics and there are subjects that do actually can still resonate with an adult audience. Same thing with the Batman animated series. I love both of those. They're both very, very well written, very well voice acted, directed, produced. Amazing. They're one of the examples of shows aren't quite the same as they used to be. But that scene, it seems like, so he's still doing Peter Parker. And Peter Parker in the show has a very youthful sound, even though I think the actor was like in his 30s. It's still supposed to have like a youthful sound, like someone going to college. And normally he's very bright and he's very energetic. So this is still supposed to be that character, but now it's that character having a little bit more of attitude and trying to be a little bit more intimidating. So the question is, how do you take that voice, originally the Peter Parker voice, and make it intimidating? See what I'm saying? It's supposed to be the same character who's now just been taken over. And it's the same problem that they had with the Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3. It's the same problem. You take this character who's essentially a geek and a nerd, how do you make him edgy? How do you make him where he seems like he's being controlled or taken over or losing his mind, but yet still be that same character, just a different version of that character? And it is kind of tricky. It is kind of tricky to take a character who is essentially more upbeat and more positive and not necessarily intimidating. He's just supposed to be funny most of the time, and then make them intimidating. It's the same as like trying to have Batman tell a joke when he's Batman. It feels weird. So I don't blame them too much. And at the same time, this was a show for kids, so maybe they didn't want him to sound too scary. But it is a scene that would have benefited from more of that raspiness. Having it, kind of raspy. I think it actually would have been fine if the character, if his voice did sound different. If he actually didn't quite sound like Peter Parker, but it's still the same voice actor, I think it would have been fine. They had him do more of a I don't know, like him trying to do kind of a Batman, a serious Batman, instead of he should have gone for maybe more of a Wolverine. I think that would have been more intimidating. A little bit more like, shocker! Like maybe like raspiness rather than trying to add bass to it. Shocker! It just didn't gel well. I do like that he did actually scream. That was good. But the performance and the voice didn't fit him trying to be edgy and intimidating. It didn't. I'm going to say Super Nintendo or PlayStation 1 RPG. Definitely more PlayStation. Long slogging silence.
I'm so sorry. Your clothes, are they...
Black?
Watch where you're going, girl. How dare you splash water on a guest?
Forgive me.
5 give me.
Mother, who were those men?
Okay, I think I've heard enough. I don't need to listen to this whole thing. I don't want to listen to the whole thing. Okay, so this is again not egregiously bad. This is another example of, these aren't voice actors. These aren't professional voice actors. This is, again, like I said, this looks like PlayStation 1, especially with those graphics and the way her image is kind of like in pieces and chunks and she's not put together right. Like a Frankenstein. All these voice actors, they don't really sound like professionals. They sound like people just in the office, people who haven't really done this before. Platina sounds like she has this always up end on all of her words, where everything is kind of like where it's always at the top, where it's always at the high end, and it shouldn't be. Also, deliver your lines faster. Pacing is everything. But again, this kind of looks like it's more where they edited everything in rather than the performance. But the performance itself also should be faster. The only downside is if they did deliver their lines faster, there would just be longer silence between lines. So, I don't know. Very hard to say. I've seen this clip 100 times. I still love it.
Hiro, I know too much about you. Are you still gonna kill me?
Yeah.
It's still great. It's still funny. Look, this was also around a time. So, voiceover in video game had actually gotten a lot better at around the time that American dubs were starting to get popular. And American dubs were kind of starting almost where video game voiceover started. And the fact that it was kind of a new area. Not really that many people knew how to do a good performance. So this is me in the editing bay. So apparently there was a mustache hair that had curled backwards and was poking my nose. And I couldn't tell, but it was driving me crazy the whole time. I'm sure it's been bothering you too, but I only noticed it now in the editing. So that's what that is. So, sorry. Also, voiceover in anime doesn't pay all that well. It pays almost nothing, very, very little. It's still a problem today. It's something that's trying to be resolved. I'm actually glad that there's a lot of people talking about it and trying to find a way of making just anime in general more profitable. If that happens, there'll be more studios, there'll be more opportunities for voice actors, there'll be more jobs. So good on that. But this was around the time when, again, there weren't like professional anime voice actors. There weren't that many, voice actors at that time didn't take small roles like that. Didn't take small, hardly paying gigs. They would work for bigger studios or nothing. They wouldn't even do the job. So the people that they did get, basically, the quality of starting out voiceover in anime was basically the quality of Fiverr back in early Fiverr. Now, obviously, Fiverr has gotten better as far as like the average quality has gotten much, much better. But I would say it's on par with that level of amateur. Now, the gear and the studio that they were working in was professional, but the performance wasn't because, again, they were just finding people that were willing to work for peanuts. So I actually love that clip. I've seen that meme over and over again, and I absolutely love it. I have no problem with it. It's funnier to me. It doesn't ruin the show for me. It's funny. Looks fine. Oh, you're a professional painter, are you? That's all you do?
You just cannot imagine how excellent my body is. It is incredible that such a hunk would bring so much convenience as I create.
Are you serious?
I can express myself more freely due to the large workspace and hotkeys.
That tablet.
Pen with the latest upgrade and great performance can always fulfill my expectation for the creation.
Oh God! Oh God! Oh God! Oh God! Why? But, woo! Okay. Where to start? Not first language, which is fine. I don't want to say that if it's not a first language for you, you can't do voiceover for it. It's not a problem. But you need to be at least fluent and confident. That's all it is. If you're not fluent and confident yet, just work on it a little bit. It's totally fine. But if you're trying to get an English... The reason that it's a problem is if you're trying to market something, a product, to a particular market, if you're trying to deliver a commercial to a particular demographic, you want someone who fits that demographic. So if you're trying to sell something to America, you want basically a general American accent. You want something to sell in Britain, you want a general British accent. If you want to get more specific, like you're trying to, like it's a specific regional voice, you want to get a specific regional accent. Like if you're selling something in a specific area, like it's because I did a long time ago, I did a commercial for an Irish car dealership, and it was for a local radio. So they wanted a very specific Irish accent for that region, and I did that for like it needed to sound like that specific dialect. So you need to tailor the voice acting to a very specific area, very specific market, and for very specific region. So if you're trying to sell it to people that speak English, it's kind of better to get someone who speaks fluent English. And if you're trying to, like, it's totally fine if they have an accent. Totally fine if they have an accent. You can still sell it, in America. It just needs to be fluent English. Accent is fine. That's not a problem. It needs to be fluent English. Even if it's a second language, it needs to be fluent. So that right there. Number two, the audio level is really quiet. I think the music is louder most of the time. Is really quiet, so it doesn't cut through the music. Also, some cross-chain compression would have helped. Bring down the music when the person's talking and then bring it back up when they're not. That would have done a world of difference. Number three, pop filter. Friggin' pop filter. Get a pop filter. You can get them for like $3. Even just a foam wind cover would have done... Oh, there's hair on this. Even a foam wind cover would have... There's still hair on this. Even a foam wind cover would have done 1,000 times better than no pop filter. That's insane. Like, that's basic. That's basic. That's basic voiceover. That's bottom level. That's starting level. That's zero for voiceover, is pop filter. And then it sounded like a really cheap microphone. It sounded like it might have been like, one of the newer N-E-E-W-E-R that I've reviewed in the past, where it's like a less than $50 microphone. It really sounds like because it's very compressed and it doesn't have a lot of frequency. It doesn't have a wide range. Frequency. And so it's not EQ'd right. It's not compressed. It doesn't have proper compression. The audio is compressed unnaturally, not as in like done to make the quiet parts louder and the louder parts quieter, but it's compressed in the fact that it's smushed digitally because it was probably recorded too high, too hot, and you got clipping at the top, so it's compressed. It's just a lot. There's just a lot that's wrong. And the thing is, like, I've seen these tablets on display and I've wanted to get them. Glad I've never seen this commercial. This would have put me off. I'd have been like, I don't trust this company anymore. That was not good. So I hope whoever recorded this got better. I hope that they learned more, and I hope that they branched out, got a better setup. But man, that was bottom tier. That was bottom tier.
Su tempestad nebular ha paralizado el átomo azul barriéndolo como una brizna de paja.
Well, I don't speak the language. I think it's Spanish. I didn't need to speak the language to understand that was terrible. I actually thought going into that what was being reviewed was the first half, and I was like, I can't review that. I don't know if he's saying it right. But the no, absolutely not. None whatsoever. This is another example of, not holding back. This person was clearly holding back. I'm going to see if I can scroll back to get an example of the face. Okay, so there is the face. There's a facial expression. So this is dubbed. This is obviously a Spanish dub, which there's basically a dub of almost every anime in multiple different languages. Some animes, there's actually some animes that don't get an English dub, but get a dub pretty much everywhere else. Just cultural thing. This might have been one of them, but maybe not. I have no idea what anime this is. But, so that's the face that you have to go off of, and you have the line. So, the facial expression, it's not horror, it's not terror, so it's not going to be the highest pitch, it's not going to be the highest register, and it's not going to be the loudest. It's more of strain and surprise. It's more like ah, ah! You know, it's not like maybe there's some compression of the chest, like he's being hit with something. He's trying, ah, ah, ah! Like maybe more like that, like he's trying to fight the wind, but not like ah, ah. That sounds more like grandma fell and hurt her back. And she just kind of like doesn't have the energy to even like really scream and call for help. She's almost like, I've just accepted this. It hurts, but this is how I die. This is how I die. That's more like what they gave. This is gonna go down in infamy. That made me laugh.
Hey, what the fuck? You got a fucking problem? I'll pound the living shit out of you, you dumbass freaky tourist.
Around me your familiar faces, worn out.
This one is a huge can of worms. So me and a lot of people, a lot of voice actors have covered this particular topic. Now, I will say this. Obviously, this is from Japan. This is a Japanese dub that they've put in a black character, and they got someone to do the voiceover. So it's not like this was a dub in America, because obviously in America we would do a better job. We have tons of great African voice actors out there. Tons. And we do a really good job of trying to make sure that we match performances. Japan doesn't work like that. They have a completely different way of seeing it, and they see it more as it's an American, so we're just looking for an American. That's the only criteria. And that looks like what happened here. They just look for an American to do an American. Not an African American, just an American. And yeah, it just didn't go over all that well. Also, part of the reason is because it was this is still in the original Japanese dub, or original Japanese. It's not a dub. It's just their original voiceover. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. But they didn't. Again, because English would be a second language, even for their director, which there's a lot of anime directors and writers and producers who, because English is the #1 second language learned throughout the, Japan, China, India, Korea, the good one, Singapore. A lot of people learn English because working with the United States, Canada, and the UK is a good chunk of their business. So English is the most common second language. But it's a second language. So it's like if I, with my understanding of Japanese, or Spanish, tried to cast people to speak Spanish or Japanese, and it wasn't done well, I would have no frame of reference. I would have no idea if it's done right, because it would be a second language for me. I would have to be more ensconced in the culture and more ensconced in the language itself and be way more fluent at it to have a better frame of reference, to which they didn't have, and again, really suffered hard. Now, my personal opinion on should only black voice actors do black characters and should only white voice actors do white characters, it depends on the role and it depends on the intention and it depends on, the character. Most of the time, generally speaking, yes, people should, you shouldn't take away opportunities for one or the other from one or the other. However, anytime, and I see this a lot, especially nowadays, that there are tons of white characters that are being voiced by, non-white voice actors. And does that bother me? Not really. If they do a good job, I don't care. So, it kind of really just depends on the performance, and it kind of really just depends on, did they do this intentionally to spite a group of people? If they didn't, and the performance is good, and, they had an open casting call, and it's just like, this was the perfect person for the character, but generally speaking, black for black, white for white. All right, so the only thing I know about this one coming up, someone told me that CDawg VA did a voice replacement of this. He did like a fan dub of this scene. That's the only thing I know about it. I haven't seen this, and I haven't seen this anime. That's the only thing. That's what the person said when they sent it to me.
Hey, I think someone's coming.
Is somebody in here? Oh.
Give me a break. That's the best hiding spot he could find.
Class is already starting.
Sorry, I was playing hide and seek with some friends of mine, and I guess I lost track of the time.
Hide and seek? And where are your friends right now?
I don't know what's up with that female, the teacher. I don't know what's up with the voice actor who plays the teacher. But like half of the time, it sounds like a guy doing a woman's voice, and the other half of the time, it's like it's a woman in her 50s. Is that what people are talking about it being bad? This is pretty much on par with a lot of anime. Now, again, for people who don't know, anime and dubbing studios, they have a very small roster of talent that they have to kind of try to quickly get, a series out. And they try to provide a lot of work for a few people rather than a little bit of work for a lot of people. And so the list isn't very, very big. It gets larger as a dubbing studio goes on and they get more credit and they start getting more, money and start getting, more royalties and stuff like that. But generally speaking, this was probably just the same team that had done a previous project, and they all did very similar characters, and there wasn't too much of an audition process. The lead character, guy with the blue hair, I think he's fine. I don't remember the guy's name, but he sounds very familiar. Someone that I've heard do anime dubs a lot. Teacher, I have no idea. She's the one where it's kind of like, I don't know if that fits. And then the guy who gets his ass kicked, like literally gets his ass kicked. Again, he's on par. I don't think that this was atrociously bad. It's kind of hard to say. So anime voice acting, all the characters in an anime are very kind of larger than life. They're halfway between, what would be in more of a serious drama and a cartoon. They're basically real cartoon people. So it's very, Japanese culture is very different from American culture. So sometimes the performance that's given by an American doesn't quite fit because we're still thinking of it as an American. We're still giving an American performance. And so sometimes the performance is a bit off. You just kind of need to understand Japanese sense of humor, Japanese culture, their storytelling, that kind of stuff, to kind of give a better performance. And maybe they just weren't paying attention, or maybe they just didn't know, or I don't know. It's very hard to say on this one. This one's not bad. It's listed as possibly the worst dub voiceover, but I don't think that's true. I don't think it's the worst. I've heard terrible. But yeah, this one's kind of a lighter episode. Not too many egregious ones. Kind of some stuff that I kind of expected. But yeah, that's going to be it. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Totally fine. If you want to leave any down in the section, the comment section to suggest for me to react to, review, and give possibly some insight. I'd love to do that. Go ahead and leave that down below. Or you can email me like so many other people have done. And my email is in the description. But yeah, it's going to be it. And until next time, peace.